Welcome back, everybody, to the show. I hope you're doing absolutely splendid despite all things. Let's dive into this. What's ruffling a lot of feathers today is this Vanity Fair piece. And we have new information that is so brutal because Susie Wiles tried to deny one of the things she said, and then they brought the tapes. And so let's kind of take this from the beginning. You had I think it's Chris Whipple. Fun. It's a fun one. Whipple. Sounds like nipple. Sorry. What am I, a child? Sometimes. And Whipple interviewed in these strangely unfiltered conversations the chief of staff, who you don't hear much from, but she's maneuvering behind the scenes a lot and making the Trump White House run, however much it runs, Susie Wiles. And she had a bunch of really, like I said, unfiltered, unexpected things to say about Trump and about Vance. And before giving you some of those and then talking about the recording of all of this, here's what caught a lot of people's eyes. The Trump administration officials really played along. They did this whole portrait. Now they're attacking Vanity Fair for it, but they did this whole portrait where they're all feeling like they look epic. I don't know who those guys are. Maybe Secret Service or something. Look at this. Strong guy. Look at Vance. Wow. Susie Wiles looks like a deer in the headlights. And then Levitt there. But I guess as a part of promo, they also took really close-up photos of all of them. You can see too much. The most famous one that we've gotten is Levitt's. And I'll just let you examine. And this is not, say what you will about Levitt. This is not about looks shaming, because anyone this up close with this good of a camera is not going to like how it looks. Trust me. If you got a good camera, some of these cameras are really good. When I get up really close to them, I am shocked at the person that is there. It's kind of like when you look at yourself really close in the mirror and you are a little horrified at what some people see if they're really close to you. That's a little bit of what's going on here. So that's Levitt. Those were going viral, some photos. It's just funny that they did a whole photo shoot and then turn around and go, how dare Vanity Fair do this fake news? You were along for the ride. So then you have denials like this from Susie Wiles, or posts. Just the quickest little breaks from the video, and then we're going to get right back to it. Please do order yourself some Pep, my family company that seeks to give you good energy, but that's gut friendly, that doesn't have all the artificial junk that gets put in a lot of other drinks. High quality ingredients, gut friendly, but gives you that energy boost that you crave. You can go to drinkpep.com to order it directly to your doorstep. Thank you so much. We have so many customers who are reoccurring and who I just know they came from this show, and it makes me so proud. Drinkpep.com. And what's really exciting is now we have this feature where you can click when you order, subscribe, and save. Look at this. You can get it for just $19.99. A nice 6-pack, $19.99, $4 off if you deliver every month so that you can always be fully stocked. Or you can just do a one-time purchase. Either way, drinkpep.com. Back to the video. The article published early this morning, and again, we're going to get to the details from it in a second, is a disingenuously framed hit piece on me and the finest president, White House staff, and cabinet in history. I hate when they say that. In history, significant context was disregarded, and much of what I and others said about the team and the president was left out of the story. I assume after reading it that this was done to paint an overwhelmingly chaotic and negative narrative about the president and our team. The truth is, the Trump White House has already accomplished more in 11 months than any other president has accomplished in 8 years, and that is due to the unmatched leadership and vision of President Trump, for whom I have been honored to work for the better part of a decade. None of this will stop our relentless pursuit of making America great again. So you can tell there's some panic there. She rarely sends out statements like this. And she's saying things were taken out of context. It's not what you think. Now let's start looking at what came out of it. While we do, please, as always, remember to click the subscribe button if you appreciate this show.
We have a lot to get to on this Tuesday, but we start with Susie Wiles' unprecedented and brutally honest account of what's going on inside Trump 2.0, unlike anything we've ever heard from a White House chief of staff. In a pair of new Vanity Fair articles, the woman tasked with bringing the president's vision of America to life provides an unsettling look at what's happening behind closed doors and inside the president's head. Now, as to how he approaches the world, Wiles said Trump has an alcoholic's personality. She didn't say he is an alcoholic. He famously doesn't drink, but said he operates with a view that there's nothing he can't do. Nothing. Zero. Nothing. If anyone would know, it's Wiles, who's been with Trump every step of the way as campaign manager, advisor, now chief of staff, consolidating power. She says Trump liked her from their first meeting as the daughter of sports great Pat Summerall because, quote, he said it a million times, I judge people by their genes. I want to bring in...
Oh, no. Let's not wade into those waters again. Oh, gosh. Sydney. Oh, gosh. No. Oh, no. Jeans. Oh, no. No. So, I have one other response before more, but that was the first interesting anecdote was that I can't even tell, complimenting him or describing him by saying he has an alcoholic's personality, and then says, my dad, I think she said dad, my dad was an alcoholic, and so I understand how to deal with that type of personality, but of course he doesn't drink, so she just more means something. I love and appreciate and support our beloved alcoholics out there, but I don't think anyone uses that as a positive. When I grow up, I want to be an alcoholic. I just don't exactly see that as a positive description as much as we sympathize with that ails people. And I kind of have thought this for a long time, but I think a lot more in this life about Trump would make sense if he were just an alcoholic. And then it's confusing to me that we all just believe his word that he doesn't drink. How do we know he doesn't? He's lied about everything else. Wouldn't that make a lot more sense why he goes on these his moods are so wildly different? He's up in the middle of the night misspelling things and posting. That's me texting when I'm drinking. Maybe that's Trump. And he's just been lying this whole time. Here was Levitt. Hi. Goodness.
I wanted to ask you, Caroline, about the two-part series of articles in Vanity Fair on Susie Wiles, the chief of staff, and the president's inner circle. I mean, clearly there was a lot of cooperation between the White House and Vanity Fair on this because there's numerous interviews that Susie Wiles had with the writer over the course of pretty much a year. Portraits were taken of his inner circle, including her, J.D. Vance, Stephen Miller. I mean, it looks like the White House was working hand in glove with Vanity Fair, and yet here's Susie Wiles' reaction to the series of articles. Quote, the article published early this morning is a disingenuously framed hit piece on me and the finest president, White House staff, and cabinet.
Yeah, we heard it.
And our team. She goes on after that. You can read the full thing on X, but what happened? What went wrong?
Well, look, I would just echo my boss, Susie Wiles, who is the best chief of staff in our nation's history, working for the greatest president in our nation's history, and that this was, unfortunately, another attempt at fake news by a reporter who was acting disingenuously and really did take the chief's words out of context. But I think...
So you're about to see one of the things she specifically denies they have proof on, so... But let's go through a list. Media had 10 wildest revelations from this story. The Trump tariff rollout was more of a thinking out loud amid huge disagreement. Everyone was kind of doing popcorn brainstorming, Should we put it on? And then the people were just like, okay, it's on. Should we put it off? Off. This percent? Boom. 200%? Boom. Down? Down. It was more of that energy as opposed to a strategy per se. Wiles admitted the administration's tariff blitz rollout was not the product of settled strategy, but of internal division, which is makes me laugh so much harder at all of these defenders of Trump. We just saw in Tim Pool's hit piece on me, him making fun of the idea that I was expressing that Trump is incoherently approaching his tariff policy. And it was like, no, there's a plan here, see? Even his chief of staff is going, well, not really. So much thinking out loud is what I called it. There was huge disagreement over whether tariffs were a good idea, but Wiles had to tell the people to fall in line in the administration. Number 2, Wiles has nicknames and labels for the different cabinet meetings. Russell Vought is a right-wing absolute zealot. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. got an endearing My Bobby, but also quirky Bobby. I don't know about calling him My Bobby because most of the people who've called him that You might get a very confusing poem, Susie, if you keep calling him my Bobby. And you're going to have to learn what felching is. Elon Musk, according to Wiles, is a complete solo actor and an odd duck. And she describes her own West Wing approvingly as a bunch of junkyard dogs, just some alcoholics. She calls Elon a ketamine addict and junkyard dogs running the country from the chief of staff. That's her articulation of it. And then she calls Vance sort of political. His conversion to Trumpism was less authentic, more political, that the vice president has been a conspiracy theorist for a decade, but still admitted she'd be the first to support a Vance 2028 presidential run. So she's kind of admitting he just did that as a cynical political move, shifting from Trump, maybe America's Hitler, to I love him. But maybe he liked Trump a little because he's always been a conspiracy theorist, which we'll see Vance's response to in a second. And I'll definitely support him despite him not really having any real principles. Again, I'm putting a bunch of words in her mouth there. You saw the things that are actually quoted. Wiles diagnoses Trump with an alcoholic's personality. She explains she doesn't mean substance abuse, but a temperament defined by exaggerated confidence and risk-taking. And that's where she said nothing. There's nothing that Trump believes he can't do. Insiders fear Epstein fallout could cost Trump the podcast crowd. There was a good bit about her saying, yeah, Trump's name is all over it. All over the files. That's no surprise. But she's standing by the claim there's nothing incriminating. She did say that Trump was wrong about Bill Clinton and there was not anything incriminating with Bill Clinton, and then also took shots at Pam Bondi. I think we can skip to that for a second here, saying it sure as hell wasn't on her desk. Susie Wiles trash Bondi as she tells all about Epstein files and kind of the stuff that you'd expect, but she was just kind of transparent about it, which is surprising. We'll also look at later what people are speculating as to why she said all of this, because she never says stuff like this, and maybe she thought this was off the record. Wiles shrugs off retribution and admits she can't really defend it, is point 6 here. I mean, people could think it does look vindictive. I can't tell you why you shouldn't think that. So it is vindictive. She added of Trump, I don't think he wakes up thinking about retribution, but when there's an opportunity, he'll go for it. And then he was asked about Letitia James and admitted, yeah, that one might be retribution. Just admitting, which is illegal. The president shouldn't just be going around trying to arrest people because he doesn't like them. Wiles blames women for Trump's attacks on women. This is an interesting one. Trump has been calling women piggy, has been really getting more upset with them whenever they ask him questions. And Wiles' response is, yeah, but they're a little mouthy. They're a little noisy, okay? No, her real quote is, he's a counterpuncher, and increasingly in our society, the punchers are women. So he's punching them back. Trump is punching women. Wiles hints blowing up boats is more than drugs. It's about Maduro. Called it. Just admitting. It's crazy. She argues Trump doesn't need Congress for Venezuelan strikes. Trump isn't running for a third term, according to her, but he loves the outrage. So that's some of what came out. One of the other little elements was that she called Musk an avowed ketamine user. Again, interesting to hear from Susie Wiles. Not a big bombshell to us. Like, we've seen the guy. We've watched him. We know. We've heard the reports.
The left wanted to make comedy illegal.
And it's confusing to me that none of them are willing to do a little introspection as to how wild it was that they gave that guy, that you're going, man, that guy was just on drugs all the time, the keys to the entire government. So this is the one that she denied. And she generally said, oh, it was out of context. But this one, she said that it's ridiculous. I wouldn't have said it, and I wouldn't know. But then Mr. Whipple played a tape for the New York Times in which she could be heard saying it. So their denials, their denials and attacks against Vanity Fair, I think the validity of them is demonstrated. The lack of validity is demonstrated in when she actually responds to a question about a particular quote, which is that he's an avowed ketamine user, which isn't even it's not the same level of importance of many of the other things she said. But then they have a tape, they have a recording, and they played it. And that means they recorded, I'm assuming Whipple recorded all of their conversations. So keep denying them, please, because then they can keep providing two outlets. Can they just release the actual tapes? That would be nice. But they do have the audio evidence, which is notable. Trump admits to having an alcoholic personality. Trump reiterated he avoids alcohol, saying in the interview he has a possessive and addictive type personality and that he wasn't offended by her word choice. No, she meant that you see, I don't drink alcohol, so everybody knows that, but I've often said that if I did, I'd have a very good chance of being an alcoholic. I have said that many times about myself. I do. It's a very possessive personality. Yeah, and erratic and insane at times. That's what I think she's getting at, but then she didn't really want to say that explicitly. I do understand a little bit his point of when you know that you would be addicted to something, so you stay away from it forever. For me, that's cocaine. I really don't snort cocaine.
I don't snort cocaine.
And the reason is because I know there's one thing left that I would love, and that is to be just a little bit more energetic and to feel like I can do a little bit more. And I'm sure cocaine makes you feel that way, from what I hear, from what Don tells me. And so I stay away from it. Call me a nerd, but I stay away from it because I'd just be instantly addicted. Because then I could think about how many hours of content I could do. Be amazing. And so I do understand that point, but it's kind of interesting that he assumed that role. It would make a lot more sense if he were just an alcoholic.
In case. But the venom rarely works. It's so powerful, this thing. It's said to be the most poisonous. That, the black mamba, the brown mamba, and the viper from Peru. You do not want to play games, okay? And I'm telling this story because my son Don, this is a hell of a... Did you hear this story, Don? And so...
It would all make so much more sense, him at a Christmas reception, just talking about how deadly certain snakes are, if he were drinking some of the Christmas champagne. Now, we get to the part now of, what was she thinking? She's been so tight-lipped about the administration, and she's not the person who's out there giving interviews. And now she leaks all of this stuff. Did she think it was off the record?
I cannot tell you how many conspiracy theories I've heard about how this interview got published, whether it was the idea that she thought she was talking off the record, whether it was the idea that she was sitting for some kind of other interview that wasn't going to be published immediately, that it has something to do with the 2028 campaign, because Susie Wiles is a calculated and political figure. Everything she does has meaning. She is not somebody who seeks the limelight. She doesn't get out there in the press and do constant interviews.
Yeah, so no one really knows. We don't know why. Let's look at, this was funny. Vance responded to her labeling him a conspiracy theorist who shifted his views on Trump because, well, it was more political.
What the hell happened to JD?
And here you can see he tries to act like it doesn't bother him. It's so cringy. Watch him go, ah, ha, ha, ha. That's funny.
And that is the interviews that White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles gave to Vanity Fair, in which she's quoted as referring to you as, excuse me, and again, not my words, sir, but a conspiracy theorist of a decade, and described your transformation from...
That's not real. You're not real. You're not real, JD. Be real for a second. Who are you? I'm so curious who he is when he's in his bathroom alone, staring at himself in the mirror when he wakes up in the morning. You know that moment? You wake up, you stare at yourself in the mirror, you're in your undies, and you think, who am I? Who am I?
Right? J.D. Mandel.
He doesn't even know his own name, or Trump doesn't know his name. Who is he? The eyeliner's off, the hair's all romped. He has his, what even college did he go to? His alma mater t-shirt on. And Usha is brushing her teeth next to him. And who is he? He's such a fake person. Watch this again.
Conspiracy theorist of a decade, and described your transformation from someone who once opposed President Trump to now his vice president as an act of political expediency. And I'd like to give you the chance to respond to that, sir.
Well, first of all, if
if Susie, I'll trust what you said. I haven't looked at the article. I of course have heard about it, but conspiracy theorist. Sometimes I am a conspiracy theorist, but I only believe in the conspiracy theories that are true.
Yeah, baby. Let's look up definition. Let's look up what is a conspiracy theory. Okay. All right. I guess that technically could track. He only believes in the conspiracy theories that are true. To me, definitionally, that doesn't really make it a conspiracy theory, but I guess it is a theory that there is a conspiracy, a coordinated plan, scheme among multiple actors. All these people, too, who go, I'm not a... Everyone... they call it a conspiracy theory until 6 months later when it comes true. Name one. Name one time that happened for you. And then this is what bothers me too in this environment. We have like extra pro on steroids conspiracy theorists right now in our political environment. Everyone just lapping it up. They love it. Give me more. Give me more. Across the political aisle. Some of you. Just give me more conspiracies. And I just want to say that this is what drives me crazy, is all of the people who have platforms just throwing out things. Maybe this is the thing. Maybe that. Maybe this person conspired with that person to do this. Maybe this thing was fake. Maybe this shooting was fake. Maybe that thing. Assassination. They get to throw anything out. And everyone has to give them credit if of the 100 things they throw out, one of them ends up being true. But whenever a normal journalistic entity gets 1,000 things right and gets one thing wrong, everyone gets to go, this is why we don't need to trust them. So the conspiracy theorists, I'm just a podcaster. I'm just talking about whatever I think in a given moment. I'm asking questions. Gets to throw out a bunch of assertions or questions that are actually assertions. And 99 out of the 100 can be completely wrong and never proven. But if they get one thing right, like Alex Jones, for example, he made a deal of Epstein's Island pretty early on. So did I. It wasn't on the show, but like back when I was a kid, I thought something was suspicious about that when I went and traveled near it. Someone said, everyone has to sign NDAs. It was a free trip. I went, this is weird. But Alex Jones said, this is something suspicious going on there. And he says 99 other things that are completely wrong without any evidence. But because he called attention to that when a bunch of people already were, see, he was right. He was right about Epstein. I hear people like Rogan say stuff like that. Well, Alex Jones was right about Epstein. Tons of people were. But that's why maybe he has something really profound to say. But then whenever actual journalists get, again, 1,000 things wrong, right? 1,000 things correct. The information you're constantly consuming is coming from actual journalists who care about facts. But then one little thing gets wrong. Oh, at one point they made one incorrect statement about masks. Now that's why we get to believe whatever we want. We never have to believe them anymore. We don't have to think they're more trustworthy than all these randos who flip on a camera and start spewing nonsense. Anyways.
And by the way, Susie and I have joked in private and in public about that for a long time. For example, I believed in the crazy conspiracy theory back in 2020 that it was stupid to mask 3-year-olds.
Bingo. I didn't even see this clip yet. Get him out of here. We know what you're about to say. It's all boring. You're boring. You're basic. That's just the thing I would never want to be called. Someone said, you're just a really boring, basic person. I'd be like, If they say you're an idiot, I hate you, you're a loser, I'd be like, all right. You're just kind of, I don't know, like, I always forget exactly what it is that you are. I kind of always forget you're a person. Oh, man. That'll do it. That'll do a doozy. He was also asked in this press conference what he thought of the economy.
President Trump last week gave his economy a grade of A++++. What grade would you give the economy today?
A+++.
JD Vance destroys Trump, gives only 3 pluses when Trump gave 4.
Look,
Whoever's in the crowd needs to be in jail. Not really. Macca's gonna be like, see, they want to lock up. No, I'm not serious. In an insane asylum is more what I mean. Somewhere with very padded walls. I give it an A+++. USA. I love you all, by the way. This is with love. This is love. Criticism with love. If that sounded mean, I just hate that. I don't want to be contributing to that environment. I just think that whoever's cheering shouldn't be allowed to drive a car. Like, it's not that I feel like I'm being mean. Like, I don't even know how you tie your shoes, but I feel so rude when I say it that way. Like, that particular way sounds mean.